You read the Bible, Brett?
Yes.
Well, there's this passage I got memorized. Sort of fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
That it was an airtight case?
Well, let's first go back. It seemed like it was an airtight case. Why did it seem like that? Because from the beginning, inappropriately, individuals were talking to news media, were leaking information that was incomplete and not accurate, and that when taken in the totality of circumstances was not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The public then took that information, treated it as if it were true, and then moved from there. You had, I think it was the police chief who said, why doesn't he want his day in court so that he can exonerate himself? That's not our system. Our system is you are innocent. In fact, there is a jury instruction. That jury instruction is read to every criminal jury, and it says, you are innocent until proven guilty, and that the jury is to take the presumption of innocence even into their deliberations. And they are only to find someone guilty once they have deliberated.
Okay.
So there is no way.
So, okay.
No, it's just no way that anybody could think he's guilty without a trial.
Well, the people who dropped the charges are saying, I mean, am I wrong, or saying that he's guilty? Explicitly today, I did not hear you say that he was not guilty. You said this was the best way to bring, and I'm paraphrasing.
He's not guilty.
Okay, so he's not guilty. So you're saying that now. But this
nobody has found him guilty. He's not guilty. He is innocent.
Okay.
You have a prosecutor who said he thinks that he's guilty. Now, how that is proper, I don't know, because in our judicial system, the prosecutor's view and opinion means nothing. It is the jury's view and opinion that matters in a case like this. Or any case, quite.
Didn't the grand jury, weren't they the ones that brought the 16 charges? The grand jury?
A grand jury did not find him guilty. A grand jury found that there was probable cause. All probable cause is the state, who is the only one in the room, presented them with specific information. We don't know if it was a complete picture.
Okay.
You know?
I understand I get where you're going with it. I get where you're going with it. But this is what I'm saying, because it's unprecedented. You have the police chief, you have the mayor, and then you have the office who was prosecuting him saying, and this is from what the Associated Press reports. The prosecutors say a stunning decision to drop the charges against Jussie Smollett does not mean they no longer believe he staged a racial and homophobic attack against him in January. The first assistant state's attorney, as I said, Joseph McGatt, told reporters that he believes that Jussie Smollett filed a false police report. He says prosecutors stand behind the investigation and the facts, and added that this was not an exoneration. A minimum requirement for dropping of charges is typically that a defendant accept some responsibility and offer an apology. But speaking after prosecutors told a judge they were dropping all the charges, Smollett conceded nothing and did not apologize. He insisted he had been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. A minimum requirement for dropping of charges, typically that a defendant accepts some responsibility and offer an apology. So what is some responsibility that he accepted in exchange for dropping of the charges?
Jussie Smollett did not speak once in court today. The prosecutor made a motion. Her motion was to dismiss the case, to nolly-pros the case, to forfeit the bond. I made a motion to seal the matter so that the records would be sealed because now the case is dismissed, and we walked out of the courtroom. He didn't agree to anything. He didn't plead to anything. He didn't, offer up any information. He never spoke once.
Okay. So clearly here, as you see, officials, they still believe that Jussie is guilty, got away with a colossal stunt. That's what they're saying. One that cost Chicago taxpayers a small fortune. Listen to Rahm Emanuel and then the mayor, and we'll talk.
This is a whitewash of justice. A grand jury could not have been clearer. To then say not only is the cost $10,000 doesn't come cost financially, but all the other repercussions of this decision it made, to me, where is the accountability in the system? You cannot have, because of a person's position, one set of rules apply to them, and another set of rules apply to everybody else.
I got to tell you, after you spoke and they dropped the charges, I was stunned to hear that press conference and to hear the police superintendent and the mayor and their tone there. I mean, they were livid. Your client had to forfeit a $10,000 bond, did a couple days community service. So why is the mayor wrong, and why would he forfeit a bond for?
So you're asking two questions.
Yes.
The first question is, why are they livid? I don't know why they're livid. I can only imagine that for some reason that is unbeknownst to me, they were not told about what was going to happen in court today. Jussie doesn't control that. I don't control that. I have no idea why they didn't know or were not consulted. I don't even know if it would have been the process to consult them and give them information. A state attorney has sole discretion in whether to bring charges or to drop charges. In this particular case, they were convinced to drop the charges. That was the right and just thing to do.
Okay, so then what about forfeiting the bond, Ms. Holmes?
Right. So here's the issue. He has a $10,000 bond up on a $100,000 matter, 10%. Do you, on principle, because he wanted his money back. Don't make any mistake about that. He wanted his money back. But do you make a principle out of that over the next 2 years, drag his name in the mud, have him have to pay lawyers, select a jury, go through a jury trial, have the state's case fall apart like it was falling apart, just so he can get $10,000 back? On my advice,
why was the case falling apart in your estimation? You said the case is falling apart. Why was it?
Right. So you had information. I mean, you only have to watch the social media, unfortunately, and watch television. You had folks talking about the matter and saying inconsistent things. So when you have one person who talks on 2 or 3 different television shows and says 2 or 3 different things on each show, that becomes evidence in my case. I would have called those individuals to testify. When you have what happened here, the police chief is on television.
Were they giving false
before he's
information,
even charged.
you're saying?
Right. Or giving explanations that don't match up. So if you get 3 explanations for one thing,
if you can be, but like social media is,
right.
Social media is, but if you can just be specific about exactly who you're talking about and what were those false claims, or what were the inconsistencies?
Well, so let's talk about the $3,500 check. You had the police chief saying one thing, then you had the lawyer say something different, the lawyer for the Olsen-Darrell brothers. She said something one time, then she said something another time. So every time she makes a comment about that check, that becomes evidence in our case that it's inconsistent. Jussie always maintained that that $3,500 check was for his workouts and for nutrition. Those Olsen-Darrell brothers also supported that. They said the same thing. But then you had their lawyer say something one time, then correct it, then adjust it and nuance it even more.
Okay,
and you had the police chief say something even different.
Okay, so then the brothers recant what they said, or you don't think that they were consistent? Because I understand that they think that they said they've been said to be consistent the entire time. No? Did they recant?
Well, the evidence that was presented to me was that they supported what Jussie said, that they said that the $3,500 was for the workouts and nutrition.
Did someone potentially, very important or influential do a favor, make a call on Jussie's behalf, because when it says someone who's connected with the former First Lady and the Chief of Staff or what have you made a call, and then the case was dropped. There was some sort of political influence here, Ms. Holmes.
No, there was no political influence in this case. There were a team of lawyers. I was one of the members of that team. I did my job on my end of this matter. They did their jobs. We all collectively worked on this case and researched every single detail and every single fact. We communicated with the state's attorneys, and we convinced them that the right thing to do in this case was to dismiss the charges. No one political called that I know of. I don't think anyone political reached out to anyone. I don't think they would have allowed anyone political to reach out to them. I think this is a situation where the mayor and the police chief are upset because they didn't communicate or have communications with the state's attorney. That's not our issue.